I might be. No, like, because my class is. Last week, last Thursday, Thursday the 21st, I'm attending another. But this last one, the building's called Rick, I don't know what it stands for. But they had a bunch of robotic stuff. It was human machine integration. Very much like autonomous vehicles. I got to operate spot robot dog.
Oh, that's actually super cool.
They had a bunch of those out there. I took some video of some other people.
This is the darkest hour of the next one.
Yeah, it's a different event, but it's the same. Like. There was.
Oh, that's actually super cool.
So the yellow one is the one operated, they had someone else operate that one, and the controller looked like a mix between. A Nintendo Switch and the old Sega Game Gear, if y'all are familiar with that.
Yeah, the Game Gear or like the Sega or the Master System. I mean,
No, the Game Gear, because the Game Gear was actual like mobile, like.
Yeah, no handheld,
handheld,
they're computer, it's meant to compete with the Game Boy.
Yeah. These actually articulate a lot, you can make it go down and then like down, like twist around, and it's really neat. But it was all,
I bet you don't even know that.
what it was is like another, I call it like a resume farm.
Yeah.
Where you go in and you review the stuff and then you just upload your resume, which I still need to do, but most of the stuff was. I think one of the DoD headquarters is somebody lost in and a bunch of other stuff, so we Jerry seen it, that's why it sounded like a.
So, kind of looks like a this.
Yeah, it was like a mixture of that and a switch. But it was really neat and being able to, play with the robot. Yeah, it's like it was. It was really neat. That's cool. And then they had another deal that was set up that would, this big track vehicle, it's like clear line. It has this big boom that rockets can fire off of, and I think the ordinance is like for. And then my actual A&M robotics team was playing as well. A lot of stuff. Then you got the bids that have been working on it. Right now it is human operated, but then it has this gate that you drop down and it's with the rack.
There's only like 13-2 here. Is there a way 13-2?
One, we don't have one because I will cover the 12-2 part of it. Like for today, I will start the rest of the 12 week 12. Okay, so I've still part of it is not yet completed. So I will try to complete the rest of it and then start with 2. Okay. Yeah, and we don't have kind of like no lab, and I will give you the time. So I will go through all the details. Okay. And costs and benefits. So still and I know some of you right here, but let me see. We already started. Okay, for the well, for the system design and analysis for this course, we do have a presentation. So for doing in class, because I just know well, what I heard because from because we have no class after Thanksgiving. 1 more week.
Yeah, we have.
Well, I know they're doing as a well, what I heard I know it's one last week should be the like for testing, I guess, for like final exam. But I will do because we have like student taking online. So I will do like put all the exam will be online. And so I would like to ask, like, do you want to keep because if we have a final exam online, then I can just like use the last week for presentation. Otherwise, we have to do it before Thanksgiving. We were getting pretty rushed. Okay. So prefer after. So are you all good? So then I will just like do it after Thanksgiving. Come back for presentation. Okay. Okay. Because I know for other courses, if we don't have a final exam, because if I change to online, then nothing. So we can do it online. So you don't have to come back for taking the exam. Okay. Because we have, actually I want to give you more time, but I will try to do, let me see, 1 hour, 5 group. We have not yet checked how many groups and how many. So suppose will be, let me see, how many groups right now?
Off that Tuesday after Thanksgiving? Is it just like a holiday or? I don't think it was.
Yeah, I just gave you a week so you can prepare. So like prepare for exam before your presentation or something. Yeah, but I know, especially if you're following my class, everything just coming all together. So I will give you some. Let me see the groups right here. Because I was expecting around like 15 minutes to 20 minutes per group. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so far I think if for 20 minutes, I think we're pretty possible to finish one within one class, 1 day. Okay. And because for the operating system, no, because last week for other courses, we have no class. Because that supposedly last week will be for the final, but because I changed to the final to online, so no class. So I can keep like finish within 1 day. Okay. So just come back on
Basically, your project is due for
Tuesday. So do you want to come
Final start.
you like a project due for something.
6?
But what you did.
So I don't think it's that Tuesday.
Not Tuesday. Let me see.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think it's still like.
Yeah, that's only it's only what it is.
But I know within this is within the Thanksgiving. I think they put as well, I remember they put the Thanksgiving and then within they together. So after you come back, it should be the exam. That's what I know. Okay. But when I meet Amy, like other instructor, I will confirm because they know more detail about this group. Because I know commerce, because we start in the main campus, we start 1 week later. Okay, if for that calendar, supposed will be 1 week later, but because if we follow the release the calendar, will be 1 week earlier. So me too, I just really confused, made a mistake. So, but as well I know, for sure will be after Thanksgiving, we will do the presentation. And for that, I will double check, make sure it's the for the final exam week. If yes, then we can because it will be same day. So I have my assistant decide something. So if you want, you can stay for presentation. Probably we can finish the presentation within 1 day. Okay, and I will expect around like 15 minutes to 20 minutes. You should able to finish the presentation. Okay. I will give you more guideline and post it so you can prepare the PowerPoint. And for presentation, it will take part of your point, but you can still work on your report, final report, and modify it. Okay. And then for the submission, you have a deadline before I submit the grade. Okay, so I will give you the final deadline, and then you can modify, change it, or like based on the presentation, you want to change some diagram, something like that, then it's okay. Also, I want to give you a better progress, like keep the everything on track. So I will maybe create a part 1 for your project. So like based on what you have, you can submit first. Okay. And then I can give you some like progress grade. So I think it may be better for you. Okay. So at least you are not like doing presentation and then it's not something I'm expected. Okay. And if okay, then let's go back to our lecture. Okay. But I'm not so sure. How about other courses? Do they already tell you how it works, or like when's the final exam?
So on our academic calendar.
Okay, let me see.
Classes end December 2nd, so that's the last day of official.
The class. Okay, 2nd. Okay, Monday.
So then the rest of that week, we're not in class.
Okay, so no class.
Following week, starting, I think, through the 10th, it says that's the final week. 5th is a Thursday. Yeah, starting the fifth through the next week would be finals.
That means no class and then final.
We would not have classes with them.
That means no class. Okay, so why so we?
So next week is.
So that means last class will second, let me see.
Second to Monday.
That means we have no class. Okay, so yeah, I'm kind of like flexible. So suppose even though we have no class, but I think you want to do a presentation after Thanksgiving, right? Better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, we
so oh yeah, so okay, I'm okay. So we can just come back and do the presentation. It's okay. And Tuesday, Tuesday, so you can like prepare for it, and then you can. I want to give you the time for preparing your final exam. Okay, so I don't want to like just put everything together. Okay, mess up. Okay,
And
so
what specifically will our final exam be over?
it's good. What are you expecting? What kind of you're asking this course? Oh,
so
I
we
see.
haven't taken
You have an idea and prepare.
Yeah, we haven't had another test to kind of have an idea of what kind of information you put on there. So
Okay. Of course, like some for the system design, just like for this course, when I talk about system design, slightly able to tell the relationship part about the if you know the requirements. So we will about some definitions. Okay, probably let's say what's the steps, progress. So if I ask we talk about the approach, right? System approach. So what are the approach? And then you need to know what's the definition and features. Okay. So compare of like I cannot say exactly the question it looks like, but if you know the features, like okay, what's the differences between maybe waterfall, IG, and then DevOps? Okay. And you should able to answer. Okay, and also nothing tricky. Okay, like for my question, nothing is tricky, and also for the UI design. Okay, so something just like stay on the PowerPoint, like some features. How can we do the UI? Okay, buttons. Okay, and then for the before the part is about the database. Okay, so how can we design a database? Okay, so first number form, second number form, something like that. Okay, and then if you trace back, and we will have some like how can we get the requirements? How can we obtain the requirements? Okay, for the really like detailed description, you don't have to. I'm not asking you like under I'm getting requirements. What's the definition of it? You don't have it, but at least you know. Okay, how can we get the requirements or something? Okay. And of course, include some diagrams. Because it's doing suppose I should let you to draw the diagrams. So you need to know what are those diagrams. If you remember, I asked you use case, and then
there's an activity diagram.
yes, for ER diagram, so class diagram. So don't mix up. If I ask you to draw the if I give you the question, like to draw the ER diagram, so how should you draw the ER diagram? Sometimes if I give you the attributes, try to like put all those attributes. Okay, maybe if I ask you to draw the use case. Okay, okay. Then how can you draw the use case? Do you still remember what's the use case diagram? Okay.
So, so how do you want us to do it?
You can draw and upload. Yeah. So attach. I'm not sure. If no, you just the format is like give me the what's the actor, the name, and then with the arrow. Okay. So I don't really mind about like how to draw it, but at least you can show me the similar structure. It's okay. Okay. let me figure out, can you upload an image? Okay, if yes, then I will let you to upload an image. But I think once you copy in, should you, we never try to like on the test. Well, I know they allow input the like paragraph, but I'm not so sure if you can like paste the image. And I would, have you done it before? Insert a picture, then yes, then I'll allow you. Okay.
Still have plenty of time to do that.
I will give you plenty of time because I know using computer to draw it, I know it's hard. So I will give you like more than what you expected. Okay. And that's about the final exam. I expanding for 3 hours. Like I will basically give 3, but I will if I think the picture it takes more time, I will extend it. Okay. So I will change like let me think about the pictures. I know if you want to draw the like use diagram like those things, it may consume too much time. So I will extend the time slightly longer. So okay. Well, for others easier, but for system design, you need to draw lots of diagram. So I will try to extend this one maybe longer, so it will be easier to draw the diagram. Okay. Okay, no problem. I understood. And well, I have to also like provide the online. Well, I need to do exam online, so I need to make consistent. So I just have to do everything online. Okay. And then okay. So far, do you have any questions? Okay, yeah. For the scope will be everything teach, of course, and then
Next week, will you give us some class time to work on the project?
yeah. So later I will cover our time so you can talk about it, and then if that's what I want to do, so if possible, that I will give you some class time. You can like discuss or ask me. So I want to at least everything on the correct track. Okay. Okay. And feel free to ask me. If you want some time, like ask me, then you can let me know earlier too. Okay. And right here, then we can go back. So we stop by the like about the cost and then the benefits analysis. So right here. So how can we calculate what's the NPV? So we talk about the NPV. And then what's the payback period, how long, or like when can we get a break even? So here's so we are able to do this. And then based on the intangible benefits, then we can increase the level of like service and also increase the customer certification and then survival. Then I need to do it like to compete. And how can I need to develop in-house expertise? So all the programs right here. And we talk about how can we determine all those risks and then evaluate, and also how can we assess those resources, okay, and then identify. So this is what we talk about it, and then later we need to review it with the client, and then always try to get approval, okay. So with the communities reviews approval, blog reviews approval, and then try to ask the stakeholder to understand what is expected from them, also what they need. So here's the progress, project environments, and then because I'm not really asking for these details, okay, what the information status, okay, something like this, then you can just know it's enough, okay. And then for the project environment, we start about it. So for the project environment, we have some electronic digital responsive repositories of the infos. So we have the like project schedules, screen reports, that there are all the documents on this side, requirements, specifications. We have the test case and test data. That's in part of it. Always when we for the system design, like we know after implementation, we need to do testing, right? For the unit test, if you the one you're working from the web programming, so you know so actually that part would be the last part. That part is the beginning of the last part of testing. So we start with our unit test first, and then we will pass to other teams to do the cross test, and then we were using different testing case, and then different testing data to validate. Okay, let's say we have different input. Did you handle those things? And then what's the like for the application side? Then we will know what's the data defined there, and then what's the database schema, and then program codes, and then the issues, or how can we track the issues. Okay, so let's say how can you open some tickets, and then with some follow-up. So we have two different sides. And for the project environment keeping, so we have some like information, so we're saving in the repositories. So we, for the team members, maybe the information we capture. So we have the user definition functions, and then what kind of electronic tools we using. Maybe we using some forum. We use a document server, like data server, to save it. Maybe we use some servers, scanner to save it. Okay. Then who can update or view it? Okay, so he's have a details list. So just I need to know what's the digital electronic digitals to save it. And then for the working environments over here, what are the possible tools we are going to use? Maybe some computers, personal workstation, or maybe some development software tools. And then the servers, the repos, like sandbox, communication tools, and the office space, conference room, all this will be what we're going to use for the project environment. Most of them, it makes it more like common sense, but just like fit to what you use for the project. Okay. But I cannot say it's really say common sense, but when we need to, even if you for a small project, maybe you are not using all these, like, do we include the conference room? Maybe not. So what are the equipments? Do we need to tell everything? Are we still using printer, scanner? Are we using projector? So maybe yes, maybe no, depends on.
But you can have like a conflict, right? So it's nice to have everything written down. Like, let's say you're working on technology that only works on Mac or something. If everyone's got Windows computers.
Yes, yeah. So we always saying, okay, yeah, yeah. And nowadays, yes, like maybe some of you, yeah. So you need to tell. So just like makes sense. Okay. So like based on the if you build for application side, build when we talk about the project environment, something, okay, yes, you maybe need to imagine it, like actually if you did have a chance to working in a company, then you okay, just like based on your observation, then we know, okay, what do we need? And if you didn't like work in a company or like start a project, so all this is hard to understand, like why we are doing this way. And then even for documentation, like most of the time we talk about documentation. Actually, for different company, we have our own style to do the documentation. Okay. And if you may be working for a big company, so you just need to follow them. Okay. So they give you some samples or like just follow them. Something just like I didn't show you, but for my web, I just cover. So if I need to work on the API server, so I need to tell you what's the endpoint path. So I have a standardized example. Okay. So what you need to do, just like copy the structure of that document, copy and paste, and then modify it, and then change it at the description, just like this. Okay. If you are working as a startup, then you need to begin everything, like set up all these things by yourself and put all the documents. Then what's the report and document? So you need to say, okay, what's done, what's not done, or like who does this. Then how can you present it? What's the structure? What's the format? So there's no from the slides, it maybe give you some example. You can refer to that one. Of course, you are feel free to have another structure. Okay. If you, to me, I like if I ask you a question, I won't ask you, okay, if you give me the answer, if you didn't give me look like this in another style, it's totally fine. Okay. So you just need to able to tell, okay, what's the schedule of? So you need to know, okay, so what's the time estimate? What's the use case? So you should able to tell it. And then programming, so they are single pair, and then what the works we're going to be assigned it. So by whom? So you should able to tell, okay, if we have a function, then this function, who's in charge of it, okay? And then what's the expected time to complete it, okay? And then testing, programmer test, user test. So we have different stage, okay? For internal, we have the programmer test. So after pass the programmer test, then we will let the user to do the user test. So if I ask you what kind of like when we have testing, so what will involve programmer, user, okay. So you should able to answer it. And then how do you like make terms like ready for testing and then deliverables? So what are those that deliverable? Okay. In the question I asked you, for the approach, so after each phase, right? So let's say I have waterfall. Okay. So after the phase one requirements, what's the deliverable? Maybe I have a document showing all the use case. Okay. Then maybe just like this. And then like how and when are they hand over to user? And then how are they accepted? So they require for approval signature, yes. And then also the code and version control. So how's like the code control to prevent conflicts? So are you using those, let's say Git? Okay, version controller, so it's pretty common. And then how can you coordinate the bug fixing with the new development, and then how and when the deliverables are released, just turn the time. Okay, so all this. Mainly one thing is like about the schedule of work. Okay, so schedule of work, the project manager will must like to establish the initial project schedule and keep adjusting. So for the project, we always sometimes based on the need or like we change the time. So but always like have an iteration schedule. So we will give a list and then those use case. So lots of things will based on the use case or the user stories. So we assign. And with the details work schedule, so we will cover those like iteration, schedule, list, like organize, describe all those dependency. So once they finish, and a detailed work schedule is prepared for next one. Okay, so this is, and what's the next detailed work schedule takes into account and change necessary based on feedbacks and progress. So right here, you can just like in each one, so just tell me the times, iteration, and then what's the possible use case assigned to it, okay? And schedule of work keep going will be like how can we do developing like detailed work schedule takes like 3 steps. So what are the 3 steps? So develop a work breakdown structure. So it will list. So it's a hardware activity or task used to estimate the work to be done, and then estimate the effort and identify the dependency. Okay. So what's the task time? So task must be complete. And then the last one, create a schedule using Gantt chart. Okay. Well, now we do have some software, and also before we also use Excel, try to perform to create a Gantt chart. Gantt chart is like kind of showing the progress, like phase 1, phase 2, and we can do something similar. We can remove the sometimes we use that called a horizontal bar, add up the previous time, and then just like hide the color, and then we can do it. And just edit, but right now we do have some software and program. After you input it, then we can generate. Okay. But that one we focus on the design more. And what are the tasks we will use like for the work breakdown schedule? So we need to recognize like the way to recognize the task is like complete. So and then the definition of the task should be like clear enough so we can estimate amount of effort required. And also as a general rules for the software project, then effort should be taken 1 to 5 working days. Okay. So it's an estimation. So that, okay, if I need to write a login page or have a loading page, then how many working days? And I asked like, based on the working day, then we can have an estimate like cost, right? So if we need to have one developer to work on the loading page within one working day, maybe 8 hours, so we can times it, so we can estimate the cost. So everything works together. And here's one of the examples. So with the breakdown structure, so we start with the planning and assess the task like 1 day, 2 days like this, and then design task, and then build the task. So have a structure, and then give it some notes like use case in this iteration. So showing like this, and then the charge for the iteration. Pretty we use the Excel, and then showing, okay, for the start with the beginning, we need to analyze it and then design, build, and then testing. Or sometimes we use different terms like implementation. Okay, so we will able to show the task like duration, like start date, the predecessor, and then the resources, and we can generate the chart like this. Okay. And also the staff and allocate the resources. So we have like staffing activity tasks that consist 5 tasks. So we try to developing a resource plan, identify and requesting specific technical staff, and then identify and request the specific user staff, and then organize the project teams into the work groups, and then conducting the preliminary training, and then the team building exercise. Okay. Also, we try to evaluate the work process, and then so our communication procedure adequate, and then how can they be like improved? Just like perfect. So just remember, how can we evaluate the work process? Do we need to evaluate? Okay, so do we hit our deadline? So why or why not? So here's the question. Or like, did we miss any major issue? Like always ask the question, what the things went especially well, or like ensure it continues. So what the bottleneck or problem area? So how can we eliminate? Okay, so here are the things we need to monitor the project progress and make correction. So like maybe when we start the project, so do we take maybe we assign work to the person or to the team, right? So we will try to collect the status. Is the task complete? If we have a weekly meeting, we have the staff meetings. So I say, okay, complete, yes, and then assign work again. If no, so is the target, is the task on target? And yes, we'll go back to keep checking, make sure that is it complete. So if it's not like it's on target, then we need to analyze the variance. Okay. So is the variance like significant? Yes, then we need to take some corrective action and go back. Okay, we need to change it. Sometimes it's yes. Even we try to collect the requirements, try to have the already make the use case, draw the diagram, but when we actually implement it, we do have some problems. Okay, so we may not able to fix it. Sometimes because maybe the technical issue, or like why now we still not yet able to implement it. Sometimes that because maybe we stuck on the libraries package we are using, we cannot complete it, or something is depreciated, we are not using anymore, or because the hardware changed. Just like right now we are maybe for the cell phone, right now like mobile phone, we have an application, right? They changed their policy regulations. If you remember, they say, okay, one thing is about the regulation and policy, right? Sometimes they change, and then we cannot do it. Okay, to before they release update the policy, we still allowed to do it, like when we require the requirements. Okay, but after we like maybe when we are implementing and then doing testing, maybe they say, okay, you are not allowed to do this. We are not open the right to let you to access those, like, okay, before they are allowed to. Actually, it never happened. But let's say for your phone, in the beginning, they allow you to have an API to access the camera. Okay, but why now they say no, you cannot do that. Okay, For the privacy issue, you cannot access it, okay? Or if you have to access, you need to go through certain step, okay? Then you need to go back to do some corrective action and then go back and then ask that word again, okay? And for the like, how can we monitor and making the correction? You can some like sample issue tracking log. So if we can give the issue numbers and then when the date, what's the description, priority, high, urgent, medium, low. Okay, then we arrange it. And then database, do we will affect the database? So some are yes, right? So when we change it, we need to we design our database or we need to pass something else. So we need to do that. And then who we pull it and assign to who. Okay. So sometimes like for testing team or if you are working on this function, but you are dependent of other function. Okay. So you will discover, okay, maybe some of function is not working or they cannot working properly, then we will report it. But it's somebody else or your teammates or other teams, they're working on it. So we need to know, and then target date, how long we will spend to fix it, and then maybe some solutions, and then the status, okay, and fix date. Once you complete, then maybe you change to close and then give the date, okay. So we always try to have a tracking log, all these things. So all this will be the project management. So just need to know they are challenging career role and then the IS project. So they know they have a great success rate and project management knowledge and skill they are value and need to improve this record. Okay. And so for this, right, everything is really low. And in reality, yes, when we start the project, to be honest, it's really hard. Maybe for big company, yes, we try to follow all the checking, but for startups, maybe it's really hard to meet all those requirements, but you just need to know. And also as a software developer, to be honest, we are not involved in all the project development like system design. But you just need to know, some of them you need to work on with the clients and then looking for fundings like pitching, presentation, and then meeting the committees. And some of them like to the community will approve review the progress, and then also the user will directly interact with the system. But if you're working for a company just writing a mobile games or some mobile application, sometimes you never have a user interact, right? You never really doing testing, then it's not useful at all. Okay, so it depends on, but you just need to know. And discipline of project management organized into the project management body of knowledge. Okay, right here. So we increase the 9 knowledge area. So what are those 9 knowledge area? Remember to go back and look at it. Okay. And then the project manager also need to study and digest the body of knowledge. Okay. So remember some titles. So what are the 9? And then managing the project can be like high or low level of ceremony, and then meaning the degree of the project management process. So the formal and documents, and then the agile project management usually use an adaptive life cycle and load. And then what's the SDLC in this text, including like 2 core process. Okay. So what the 2 core process? Project manager, we need to identify the project, the problems and obtain the approval. Second, plan and monitor the project. Okay. So this like we're talking, and then some like core process could identify the problem, obtain approval of following activities. So 1, identify the problem, quantify the project approval factors, perform risk and feasibilities, analyze and review the client, obtain the approval. All this. Keep going, and then what's the key deliverables? So we have the system vision document. So what's this doing? So we include the problem description, overview of system capability, and then list of business benefits. And those project approval factors maybe include the times and then cost benefit, and also the risk. Okay, all this. And then the process will be for the plan and monitor the project includes those activities. So like establish the project environment, schedule the work. So we talk about schedule of work, staff and allocate sources, evaluate the work process and monitor the progress. Okay. And then the last scheduling the work includes the project iteration schedule. So we have the work breakdown structure, WBS. So we need to like to be complete. And those dependencies and then time estimate are also considered in the Gantt chart. Okay. So here will be have summaries. So if you see some keywords right here, just remember something. Okay. And then we'll move on. Okay. I should cover. Okay. I can cover part of it. And then we move on how to do the like object-oriented design. So it will be like a bridging from the analysis to implementation, and what the steps included, and how can we design the classes, design the class diagram, and then what's the CLC card, and then what's the principle of a good design. Okay, so that's what we expected. For the object-oriented, so we say OO, and it will be a process like which a set of detailed old design model and built to use for coding. And then the strength of the OO is requirements model for like the previous chapters. So we extended to the design models. So doing this way, and then the design models, they will create in the parallels, actual codings, and then the implementation. Okay, within the iterative SDLC. So the one. The agile approach is saying they create the models only if they are necessary. Okay, so simple details aspects do not need a design model before coding. So it's like this. For diagram 4, we have the 3 layers. So the layers, let's say if we have the database access object right here, so we're connecting. So with the maybe have a student object, we'll access it. So you will see we check the student information. Maybe we'll save the updates to the database part of it, and then we have the input Windows object right here. So input Windows object maybe include some users, maybe staff. So maybe we'll input the student ID or like personal information update. So all this will update the student objects, right? So maybe if we need to get ID, we request for it, or update the student information, update this one. So he's got a 3 layers architecture. And for the object, the old program flow, for the instantiation, we will create some object in the memory based on the template provided by the class. And then what the methods we use is a function execute within an object, and when we involved by the message request. So maybe we have some like method like call function. This one giving the using Java method. So we will have different attributes. Let's say we have students. We have lots of attributes like private, and then we create a constructor. And for the constructor, by default, and then, or like if we're passing some parameters, and then we do have methods like belongs to this object oriented, then maybe we'll have a get or set methods like this. We also have like different types. We'll apply the OO concept, Java, yes, and then this one, and then we'll be using the VB, Visual Basic, and that net with the methods, and then we will define with the student. So all this we will have a class, and then the methods, and then some constructor right here. And for us, when we need to analyze the design to implement, so here's the flow. Let's say we stay in the analysis model, so we have information about the things like what's the problem domain class diagram. So what's the problem domain class diagram, and then what's the use case right here, system sequence, activities, So all those information about the process flow and then flow of execution here. And then when you pass the analysis, then we would design the actual class diagram, okay? Based on this one in the design models. And then we maybe have some like communication sequence and CRC cards. And then finally, we will compile these together to become some programming models. So will be the OO programs with the class and methods, okay? For the class diagram, if you still remember, we have got a domain diagram. So for a student, we have the name, and then we have all the attributes, right? And then for the class diagram, for the student, we always have the attributes, and then we have the method signature. And you will see the differences between here. So what's the domain diagram and then the class diagram? Okay, so just be careful. And then what's the differences? And mainly for class diagram, it will include the methods. We'll talk about the data type. Okay, so are they open to, are they public? Are they private? So that's like what we described, but for domain, just all the attributes we use, okay? And then we have the sequence diagram. So just like revision of it, so we do have the actor, and then sometimes we have the records like the system. So if the actor, they will perform certain actions, if they want to change their name, so what kind of attributes we're passing to the system, and then that system will pass what kind of things to next one, and then what's the return value, and then update. So here's the called a sequence diagram. And if we now ask you what's the communication diagram, we have the actors. So we will send it. So it's pretty similar. So you look at here. So like first when we send the change name, and then pass it, we have the system update controller, and then this controller we send it to the change name to the student. So right here, students. So after compare, we will return the name updated. Okay. And then one is the class responsibility collaboration. So it's called CRC. So what's the CRC is doing for the student? We maybe have some like called a change name, change address, change major. Then we have get names, get address, get majors, get credit hours. Okay. So here's the front of the card. So what's the back of the card? Will be the attributes. So how can you convert this to a class diagram? Yeah, I talk about the CRC. We have the front card and back card. Right? So front is so refer to the class diagram. This is called a class responsibility collaboration. Okay. So what's the front of the card used for, and then back of the card used for? The function. So refer to the class diagram. So will be the functions, right here, the methods. Okay, so this is how we like change those diagram to implementation. So if we need like something, if we need to draw the diagrams, like when we analyze it, pass to design model, and then when we really programming, and that's how it looks like. So fun will be the methods function like we interact, or you just thinking when the user interact, like they are the functions you will see. So will be front of the card, and then back of the card will be the attributes, the data receiving. Okay. And for the design, for the overall design, first we need to identify the classes, and then what's their methods, and then the message required for the use case. And mainly we are like use case driven, so designs carry out use case by use case. So always start with the beginning requirement, and we get those requirements, we have the use case and draw those diagram. And for the steps, like for the old design, start with the use case diagram. So we choose the use case diagram. So if we have the like first cut the design class diagram, maybe we have identified the class, elaborate the attributes, identify the navigation. For some simple use case, maybe we just directly draw the CLC card. So if I ask you what's the CLC card, or like can you convert them to the what's the front of the CLC card, what's the back of the CLC card of this class diagram, then you should able to like pick up those things, put it into correct category. Okay. So you need to like determine what's the responsibility, what's the collaborations, and then maybe for some certain moderately like complex use case, then we need to maybe have some communication diagram first. Okay, so what's the communication diagram? How does it look like? Communication diagram, and if it's more complex, then we need to change the sequence diagram. So if we look at this, then it will be easier for us to break down. And then later we can have a final design of the class diagram. So we'll know, okay, so add and elaborate the methods and finalize the navigation. And then we will have a package diagrams. Okay. Here's the flow. Okay, so if I say we have a simple use case where we do, if we have moderate and complex use case, then how will you do and handle this? So you need to know, okay? And for design a class diagram, we always have stereotypes. So we need to have a way to categorizing those model elements by its characteristics. We can indicate this one, the groupment, and then the persistent class. So and class like which the objects exist. So after the system is like shut down, so we will still need to remember. That means we need to save it. Okay. So entity class, that means the some of the actors, we need to save it, or some others. So we did design identifier for the problem domain class. Okay. And then the boundary class or view class. So they will exist on the systems automation or boundaries like input window form or the web page. And then what's the controller class? So the class mediates between the boundary class and the entity classes. So we're acting as a switchboard and between the view layers and domain layers. And then what's the data access class? So it will be the class used for retrieving data from and sending data to the database. So you need to know all these like the class. And so what will, okay, if I give you the task stereotype, so entities with a customer. So maybe if I call the use case handler, so it would be the controller. So maybe I talk about some, it's a sales input window, it's a boundary. So if for data access, we have the DB window. Based on the naming, okay. So that's why we always have a good habit naming those maybe entity or like functions with some meanings. Okay, so that's why sometimes you see we have a called controller or handler. So it will showing, okay, it's the stereotype of it. Okay. And for boundary, we may be putting as a Windows or output, something like that. So we'll know, okay, it belongs to the boundary. Okay. Maybe writer will be the data access. And then for the notation of for the design class, so we have like, how can we put the name, attributes, and method? So we have a stereotype name, put it on top. And then with the class name, so do there what's the superclass? Does it contain a superclass? So superclass are we inheriting? If you remember the lecture I asking the drawing if you're multiples. So we inheriting from the parent class, and then we share certain attributes. So the attributes right here. So visibility. So are they public, private, and the attribute names, data type, expression, or like are you going to initialize certain value? Some are yes, some are no, or maybe sometimes for the database we want to save down when's the create date. So maybe I will initialize with now. Okay, so what the method? So will be right here. Everything right here will be kind of like just go through again everything you are doing one more time. So like, are they public, private? What's the method names? Are you passing parameters? So what's the return type? So you need to be able to tell. If I give you a structure, can you tell all these things? And then the attributes to indicate. If you see the example right here, we use plus sign or negative sign to showing the accessibility by this. So negative will be private and positive is public. Okay, so if you go back to the diagram right here, then you'll know more. Okay, so you see all the attributes right here. Are they public or private? Yeah, so they're all negative, so they will be private, and then or positive will be the functions. Okay, if you do have a function, is that private use, maybe calling from another function to another function, then you would say it's a private. Okay, so you need to know, okay, what's this symbol is representing to, but yep. You can still staying it for okay, so what is okay, first things you know what is protected. So what's protected? Okay, yeah, so protected is for the mainly because for a class we have public and private, right? So when we have inherit a class, okay, for protected is we this one is under belongs to this class, I can access it. Okay, so if you this one still only allow access within this class, we can still say it's a private, and we're not open to public, and then you can just put a negative. But if it is public function allowed to others outside of this class to access it, is still public. So make it simple. So it's still, even though it's like protected, it's like more the relationship, but for this one, we just consider for internal for class, like even it's protected, that means we still don't allow the class to access it, right? So it's still private, then it's still private. So it's a negative sign, and it's still allow public outside of this class to access it. It's public. That is plus sign. Okay, so 2 is fine. And right here, okay. And then the attribute names, how can we define lowercase? And then type expression like class, string, integer, initial values. So are you going to assign some values? So do you have some like properties? Do you have is a key? And then a kind string is a key and an integer. Then are you assign some initial value to it? Okay. Maybe you should able to read it or know if you see the example like this. So if I ask you, do you know what is the attributes belongs to public or private, then you should able to tell what's does it contain the initialized value, then you should need to know. Okay. Or if I want to add the initial value, so which how should the syntax looks like, then you should be able to tell it. And then the next will be the methods. So we have the method next interest, we contain the information needed, like to involve. So same indicate, is it public or private? And also the method names, lowercase, and then parameters. So are you passing the parameters? What's the return type? So for methods, so what are the possible return types? So how can we interpret? So is the public function methods return it, So what we're going to return, what's the data type we will return is string, right? Okay, and this one is the, how about this function? But it's a private function. We have a parameter passing the date and return an integer. Okay, so maybe this one check the date is it weighted or not. Maybe integer, maybe 0 or 1 or whatever. We don't know. We never know. Depends on implementation, but at least we know we have to return an integer type. Okay. And then for the class level methods, sometimes we need to showing, okay, so we apply the class rather than the object of class. So just like underline it. Okay. So if we have the like fun student above the hours, we pass the parameter and then with the arrays, and then maybe we have get the number of customers returning the integers. So this one. And then for the class level attributes too, so we apply to it to, if the class rather than an object, then we will just underline it right here. Or like if we have the abstract of the class, so we will just put it as the name like italics or inherited a concrete class. So it's the same. And for the tables, right here we have the sales, customer, showing relationship, inheritance, like the telephone sales, online sales, and then in-store sales. So we're showing, okay, so which one are the inheritance, what are the keys? And then if we have the underlines it for here, the number of stock sales, it belongs to here, and the number of direct sales, and then the number of phone sales will belongs to the inheritance. So you were showing with the underline. Okay, or if you have other extra methods, so we will add like confirm emails, and then you need to pass the email address, then we can add it right here. So actually kind of like repeating, and if you're familiar enough or remember the database, then this just repeating. Okay. And when we talk about the first cut design diagram, so we will process that using the like use case by use case, adding to the diagram, and then we will pick the domain class. So remember what's domain class, and use the class, and then what's the precondition or post conditions for the ideas, and then we'll add a controller class to be in charge of the use case. Maybe we need to determine initial navigations, and then for the requirements, also we need to use the guidelines, add to the diagram, elaborate the attributes. So make sure like what the visibilities. So public, private. So what are the return types, and then also like association and then multiplicities. Sometimes we call that cardinalities. So if you remember, I recommend you, I always using the cardinalities. So that we will remove of the like design diagrams in the text, and also we emphasize the navigation like this. So far we were drawing all the like with like this with the domain class diagram. So why now? Can you tell the difference between the domain class or class diagram? So you should able to tell like what's the difference? Not really dot line. Domain class. Oh, let me. No functions, and so we have no visibility, no data type, no functions. Okay. Most of the time I ask you to draw the design the class diagram, but for the domain diagram, only have attribute name, and that's it. Okay. So pretty similar. So pretty similar to the ER, but for the ER, I will be like focusing on the we need to show the also some attributes too, and then with the relationship between other entities, right? Okay. But for the domain will be like this. Okay. And then for the class, most of the time, because class diagram is more details, then it can, if once you draw the class diagram, actually it also can use for domain, right? So for saving time, you're not asking to draw both of them. Okay. So at least once I look at the class diagram, I'll know what's the domain, right? Or the only attributes. Okay. So that's why the reason when we are working for project development and then like system design, we just need to use class diagram because it's good enough. Okay. But of course, like for certain level, we say, okay, in this moment, we just need to know what's the domain. Okay, it's okay. And then so right here, so we always start with the domain class diagram. So right here, promotion, and then the dotted line. So what's the dotted line doing? Why we have a dotted line right here? Promote offering.
Reference or some, is that thing supposed to be in the middle between those two?
Mm-hmm. But you will see there's we have the cardinality, so one to many, zero to many. So we have a many to many relationship. So that's why we have one actually drawing this way. But I'm not recommend doing this way. So when you're putting in the middle and then try to showing like if we have to do some like in the middle transition diagram class table, then try to like connect like this way. And so for this one will be just like based on your diagrams and then adding the relationship and cardinality. Okay. And the next one will be the developing the design classes. So with navigation of the visibility. So right here, so one thing, the ability of one object to view and interact with another object. So we have the arrow pointing here is accomplished by adding an object reference the variables to a class and then show as an arrow head on the association line. So customer can find the interact with the cells because it's like my cells right here. So refer to the as a variable. Okay. Here's a part of it showing the called the navigation visibility with the arrow. But if I asking for this one, then we will show it as the arrow. Okay. So probably right here. So you need to really distinguish sometimes why it doesn't contain arrow, but why I give you a table of the arrow. So you need to know what it's doing. Okay. And then the relationship by one to many association indicate like those like server or like the subordinate relationships, and they usually navigate from the super to the sub, and then mandatory. So what those objects in one class they cannot exist without the object with another class. They also like usually navigate from one or more than independent class to the dependence. And then also when the object needs information from another object, so they will have a navigation arrow, maybe required it if we need to. And the navigation arrow may be bi-directional. So if they require each other's, then we have bi-directional. Okay. So right here, maybe we have the controller. So when we have the first cut diagram, so if you remember the first cut diagram right here, first cut diagram, and then we have like different type, like simple, complicated. We have the controller. So controller, so we need to get the sales handle, we need to maybe access to the customer. Then customer will so they get it from the sales. Sales also need to obtain from the sales transaction, sales item. And how about sales items itself? Maybe we need to get the some from the inventory or the products, or they maybe some promotion, like promo offering. So all this. With this, like with the this one is using for telephone controller. So at the so you need to able to distinguish if you look at the like these diagrams. Then sometimes why we have an error, or sometimes why we don't have an error, and then what we need to do. So you need to able to tell. And so we will stop right here. So I think it's almost the time. And yep. So next we'll keep going next time. Talk about the CRC. Okay. Question? Yes. Mm-hmm. In a group. So everything will be a group. And I try to break down like this because I just help you some like progress. Okay. So show me what you have did. At least I think so far right now you should have some requirements, and then you maybe already design some, maybe get some use case, like based on the requirements, you maybe have some use case and then start to draw some use diagram, right? Use case diagram, something like this. Okay. This is a basic of this part. And expecting like in the final project, even though you don't have to really implement, maybe in the presentation, like based on the use case requirement. So what's the later, like after this part, then maybe you will work on the user interface designing, and then how would you design your database? Okay. So in the presentation, that's what I expecting to see. Okay. This your team, but you need to think about, okay, maybe you can spend part of your time spent on what the requirement or assumption you gave, and then most of the times that based those requirements use case, how did you design your database? Okay, so when I look at it, does it make sense? How do you create a relationship, or like why you putting those data together, or like why you like have a different split them into two tables, or that you use the mixed database system. So why are you using some like probably using the MySQL relational? Why is you using the NoSQL? Okay, what's the reason behind? And then based on this, so maybe also what's the UI like you're going to design? So you need to able to tell. Okay, so will be basically because for this one you are really where I keep the data approach or something like this. Actually, all this will be repeating what you learned like in your previous chapter, just like more details and then some more detailed things you need to know. For the class diagram, you need to present those things. And for the approach, it's really hard. You actually it's nothing. To me, like it's really nothing really necessary to cover with the approach. You need to know, like for project management, we need to know what's the approach you need to use, but you don't have to tell me. You don't have to include the approach. Okay. So you don't have to let me know, we are using a waterfall or like for the DevOps. It's not really to do that. Okay. And can I answer your question for your project? Because you asked the project. Yeah, okay. And if no, then that's it for this class. Thank you.